Gear up for Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. It's your final word on sports all across the state. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now here are your hosts, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
We got to get back in the open week and just find out some things that we can, improve on. All positions are open. Evaluations of those positions, we got to be more efficient.
We came up here to take care of business. We did just that. We wanted to play our best game of the year. We played our best game of the year. I thought it was a dominant second half. Really great start, about as good a start as you can outside of the muffed punt.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome into Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network here on a Monday night from downtown Columbia. Hopefully everybody survived the weekend. I know some survived better than others. For those of you going through some troubles right now, we send out our thoughts and best wishes to you, because I know not everybody came through the storm in good shape, but we hope everything goes smoothly for you moving forward and quickly, and you get back up to 100% here very, very soon. If you were able to enjoy football over the weekend, we've got a lot of things to talk about, going back to Friday night up in Boston, where Clemson did what they do, and that is just run an inferior team into the ground. Then on Sunday, South Carolina and Georgia, the Gamecocks put up another good fight. Don't let the 2-touchdown deficit mislead you. It was a 1-touchdown game until Georgia returned the onside kick for a score that really probably made a lot of people mad, because the line was 7 points. So a lot of people upset over the fact that took place, including yours truly.
Including Brent Musburger, according to some people on Twitter.
Yeah, he was kind of
took the Gamecocks in the points.
Apparently. But anyway, the Gamecocks, once again, their offense, well, you're now 128th out of 128 in the country in scoring. So, you can't go any farther down the list than that. And it has been a quick decline for the Gamecock offense. I went back and looked at the numbers going back the last 3 years. And, they've gone from an offense that was in the 30s nationally, ranked in the 30s nationally, to now the very bottom at 14 points a game is all the Gamecocks are averaging. This time a year ago, 6 games into the season last year, they had scored 124 points, which wasn't great either. Their offense last year wasn't very good either. That offense looks like a juggernaut compared to this one. They've scored 84 points in 6 games this year.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I didn't think they would be good offensively this year. I didn't think they would be the worst offense in the country, and they haven't played all great defenses to this point. Let's be honest. Kentucky's defense was trash, and they only scored 10 points, and that was, to me, a big-time warning sign, and they've got a lot of issues at a lot of different spots. They have a lot of young guys playing. Don't be shocked that this is happening.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be.
So the question is, where does Will Muschamp turn from here? If he still believes in winning games this year and trying to get to 500 and earning a bowl bid, where does he go? Obviously, he felt like Perry Orth was the best quarterback for the situation yesterday. They felt like their running game wasn't going to go, so they had to throw the ball. And Orth did some nice things. He threw some nice balls. The thing about Perry Orth and what his legacy is going to be is he's a pretty good mid-major quarterback playing in the SEC, and he can move you between the 30s. He just has a hard time getting you in the end zone. The Gamecocks just don't score points with him at quarterback for the most part. He either misses an open receiver or throws an interception or gets sacked. Not all his fault. But, just look at his times as a starter. Look at the last 2 seasons with him as a starter. For the most part, the offense has struggled getting into the end zone. Yeah. McElwain didn't get a sniff yesterday. I guess they felt like his ability to run was not going to be that great of an asset.
Yeah, they needed passing. And they're playing the guy that gives them the best chance. I haven't seen anything this season that would tell me that Brandon McElwain gives South Carolina a better shot to win.
That has to be
than Perry
disappointing
Orth.
to every Gamecock fan. That has got to be
He's a
disappointing.
true freshman.
But
Well, here's the other thing.
He's your 4-star,
Okay.
highly recruited.
That doesn't mean he won't be.
Versus a walk-on transfer from Florida Atlantic.
Okay.
Is this the best you can do?
Yeah. I mean, experience means something.
Mhm.
A guy that can stand there and throw the football. I think it's really unfair to judge Brandon McElwain based on this season. The entire offense, they have a bunch of guys. You want to talk about Perry Orth? He outperformed a 5-star stud in Georgia. He was
terrible.
He was the best quarterback on the field Saturday.
Yeah. Of course, now they really didn't need their quarterback to do very much.
No, when you're running
and
for
they pretty much
350
admitted
yards.
that, didn't they? Didn't Kirby pretty much say after the game that, hey, we're not concerned about the quarterback, really? Or maybe it was one of the Gamecocks that said
I wouldn't
that.
be if I had
Didn't
three
have
guys.
to worry about the quarterback because they were running the ball
That
so
was
well.
Will Muschamp that said they threw it 17 times too many.
Yeah.
They didn't have to throw the ball.
Yeah.
When you have 3 different guys that are reeling off about 8 or 9 yards a clip, it's just a very rough day for USC. There's going to be more of them.
Yeah.
It's going to get it can't get any worse on offense statistically.
They still, they they got to look at Massachusetts in their next game. They got to look at Missouri, and they got to look at Western Carolina. All right, as 3 potential wins. Okay, so that would get you to 5. Then you got to upset somebody. You got to pull a shocker. You got to beat Tennessee at home. You got to go to Florida, win down there, or you got to go to Clemson and win up there. And I'll just go ahead and tell you that ain't happening. So the chances, the upset possibility will hinge on the Tennessee game in terms of springing something on somebody. Because Tennessee's been living a very charmed life, and the clock struck midnight for them at Texas A&M on Saturday. But still, Tennessee will be talent-wise vastly superior to the Gamecocks. It was pointed out to me yesterday. I got a text message as I was driving in from Atlanta that, and I didn't have a chance to go back and look, but you were there. On the onside kick, did the Gamecocks have the full complement of 11 on the field?
I'd have to go back and check. I didn't see.
It was pointed out to me by a coach who sent me a text message.
I'll have to go back and watch it again. He
believes that they were short. He said something about you could have 6 guys on one side. They only had 5.
So not too many, not too few men on the field, but just too few stacked up on that side in the formation.
Might have been.
Or only had 10 guys on the field.
Well, I've got to go back and look.
Yeah, I didn't notice
they
that.
put 2 kickers out there, which didn't really fool anybody. They had 2 kickers.
Yeah. It was not a good play. Well, it worked in the fact they got the ball. They got the ball back.
Well, yeah, they did.
I mean, technically, they still had a chance to win the game.
Yeah,
after that. Had Georgia just recovered it, the game would have been over.
That's
but
right. That's right.
Another thing, they had a guy there. The ball hadn't gone 10 yards. Now the receiving team can go up there and catch it and go, which they did. I think some of the Gamecocks there were waiting for that ball to go another yard or 2 before he could recover it. So special teams has not been a good look for South Carolina this year. They had a tight end trying to return punts, and that went about as well as you would imagine it would go with the tight end returning punts.
Mm-hmm.
That's not good.
He had a good day receiving the ball.
They've missed field goals.
Mm-hmm.
They've just played well. They're not a good football team. They're a bad football team right now.
Defense continues, even though they gave up a ton of rushing yards and a bunch of conversions. I mean, look, you feel like if you got
Mrs. Lincoln.
Well, if you got any kind of an offense and you can hold Georgia to 21 points, or you can hold, I mean, they're holding teams within reach.
Defense is playing good enough to win.
I'm not counting the other 7 against the defense, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
They're giving them a chance, but boy, that offense
7-point game
got a
in the fourth quarter.
Way to go. Yeah,
I mean, it was a 1-possession game, so they are hanging around. That's why I think if you're South Carolina fans, you are gritting your teeth and bearing it now, but you have to feel like the thing's going to turn for us eventually. And maybe as the season progresses, you'll see some signs of the offense improving. I think McElwain does need to work in there. I would have liked to have seen him play a series in that game.
Do you bring Bentley in?
No, not unless he can change the season. And by change the season, get you to a bowl game.
They did that with Tannehill. They brought him in mid-season, made him a starter, and he won 5 in a row.
3 years from now, when he's graduating, you might wish that you still had him for another year.
All right, 800-956-7266. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Your phone calls coming up. Post game from USC yesterday. So weird to have a football game, a college game. You know, what a weird weekend. You had USC and Clemson playing regular season games, and neither played on Saturday. Clemson on a Friday, Gamecocks on a Sunday. That's just weird. I don't care how you put it. It's just weird. All right, time for the good, the bad, and the ugly. By the way, Pro is not with us this week. He's on vacation. Good time to be on vacation. Weather's just perfect. So K-Mac and I will give you our good, bad, and ugly. So I'll go ahead. My good from what I witnessed over the weekend. My good, being in New England as the Red Sox lose 2 playoff games.
Jeez.
To me, that was very, very good.
I thought you were going to say while the leaves were changing.
That's nice. The weather was nice.
The clam chowder was tasty.
Had lunch with Sports Talk intern Hall of Famer Ian Maripol, who's doing well. He sends his best. But no, being up in New England and watching and listening as the Red Sox lost 2 playoff games, that was just delightful. My bad, college football games on Friday night. Bad. B-A-D, exclamation point. SMH, LOL, bad. Okay. My ugly, the college football games played in the Triangle of North Carolina Saturday afternoon. Come on, people. You're supposed to be smart in the Triangle. Did you not know that a hurricane was just off the coast and was ailing the state of North Carolina? We, the dumber people in South Carolina, as you might think, we were smart enough to move the game to Sunday, where it's beautiful.
Right.
Beautiful. So the ugly, the decision to play in Raleigh, in Chapel Hill, and in Winston-Salem in a hurricane. Way to go. Okay,
not smart, indeed. Yeah, my good was that decision by South Carolina to move the game to that was good. And the crowd that showed up, it was a solid crowd, wasn't packed, but it really wasn't much smaller than the Texas A&M crowd the week before, to be quite honest. The bad, the fans that were blowing up my Twitter feed all day Saturday saying, oh, look at the weather forecast. They could have played the game. Those people really needed to check themselves. And if you look at what's happening in North Carolina now and what they're still dealing with in the Low Country and the Grand Strand, the PD, the Florence area, there's a lot of people that are still not able to get back to their houses. It was a good move by South Carolina to move that game. It would have been miserable for people to go out there on Saturday and dangerous. So that was the bad. The ugly, the ugly for me, watching this Dodgers series, I'm hoping it's going to turn around. But October baseball, as a Dodger fan, it's been pretty tough in my lifetime. Now, I know they've had some great moments. Now, I was there for the 88 World Series, was young. That's it. Yeah. And they went about 8 years without even winning a playoff game. And Clayton Kershaw has the lowest ERA in the regular season in Major League Baseball history. And the guy can barely get an out in the postseason. I don't get it. They're losing right now to the Nationals 4-3. They couldn't hit with the bases loaded yesterday multiple times as I was following that on Game Tracker. So that's my ugly. October baseball for the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Understood. All right, there you go. The good, the bad, and the ugly from us tonight. What do you think? 800-956-7266. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com and on Twitter @sportstalksc. By the way, of course, kudos to all law enforcement folks who participated in the evacuation and in the recovery efforts and everything else. Not all highway patrolmen from South Carolina, however, were along the coast. At least 2 were in Boston, flanking Dabo Sweeney. He had his 2 highway patrolmen with him. Did Muschamp have his highway patrolman with him yesterday?
I did not see any highway patrolmen. I did see a lot of Richland County, Kershaw County, some Columbia police around. I did not see any state troopers. There might have been a couple. But as we know, there's a big difference between 2 state troopers and 200 that would have been needed for a home game. And that's also would qualify into my bad. People that think there was some kind of not political game, some sports angle by Nikki Haley trying to sabotage the game.
Well, that's why I bring it up. She made sure, however, that Dabo was protected up in Boston.
She didn't care.
From the wind and the rain and any insults that might be thrown his way.
Nikki Haley, and all the
she did a great
staff in South Carolina.
Yeah.
They should all be committed. Still should be. I know some of them are probably listening to us wherever they are. The linemen from the power companies, there's still people without power. All those people should be commended. They certainly shouldn't be answering questions about sports allegiances right now.
All right, 800-956-7266. Let's go ahead and get to your phone calls. We got some callers on our What the Phone line, WTF, What the Phone line. We'll get to that as well for you. I got a lot of great stuff tonight. Jarmart, by the way, we have Carson Palmer. Who's my Mason for her? Carcinova, right? It's Carcinova. She likes Carcinova.
No, she doesn't.
But I called, it's Carson Palmer, and who was the Mason? Not Dixon. It wasn't Mason Dixon. It was Carson Palmer, and I can't think who the Mason was. Perry Mason. Anyway, Carcinova behind the scenes because Jarmart is
Perry
up at
Mason, a reference that was 20 years before Carson was even born. But well done.
Jarmart is at the Panthers game
He
tonight.
is.
We'll check in with him in the next hour. Panthers playing tonight against Tampa. Okay, to Tim in Columbia. Hello, Tim. Welcome in. Hope everything is well with you.
Hey, everything's well, Corn.
Good.
Corn, you got to be. I was encouraged by the defense, even as bad as offense played. To me, the defense only gave up 2 touchdowns because you remember this. It was 7 points for a long while where the defense was getting stops, and then I think or through the interception on their own 25-yard line. But they'd turn around and basically defend a real short field for that touchdown that they got. It was the second one. And so, to me, really, as far as, they gave up yardage, but they still hunkered down, got some turnovers. They did what they do. And I'm with K-Mac. I don't think you can judge McElwain because with the younger quarterbacks, the teams that have success with the younger quarterbacks, it's the help to me that they have around them. You take away, those 2 NFL running backs from Georgia, and with the way Eason was playing, then it becomes a struggle for them to score, given that, outside the onside kick, they only scored 3 touchdowns. And they had the short field. And I looked at the Alabama game later that night, and they were talking about the Hurst kid, and he did most of his damage running. He had like 140 yards passing, but he didn't need it because they were manufacturing points other ways. And so I just think it's way too early to think that McElwain can get down. I think you just got to get better line play or more consistent line play and get better parts around him because Orth is good. Like we said, he's a good mid-major, but you could see that on some of those longer passing routes, McElwain's arm is just stronger, and if they would have allowed him to throw the ball down the field, or if the line gives them enough time to throw it down the field, some of those receivers that, or if they can get the ball out there far enough to, those are plays that could have been. There was at least 1 or 2 plays that would have been caught for big gainers that put you in position to score.
Yeah, but
I think you got to find a way to play both of them.
I agree, but McElwain has not looked real strong passing the football down the field this season. I don't know that he's completed a pass. I'll have to look it up. His longest pass this season. Now, I do think during the bye week, you'll see a couple of things happen. I do think they'll try to incorporate McElwain more. I think that they will, now that they have Deebo Samuel, who was healthy for an entire game for the first time since Vanderbilt, they have to target him more. There's no question. He had 2 long catches that were difficult catches. He's got to be a bigger part of the offense. I understand why he wasn't this game because they probably didn't know how long he's going to be out there. You game plan all week and you say, okay, we're going to go to Deebo and he's not there. That's burned them a few times. But even then, it's still going to look really bad in chunks with the offense because they're breaking in so many new guys. The good news is most of their best players offensively, 1st and 2nd year guys. They're going to get better.
All right. Thanks for your phone call. 800-956-7266, the number on this Monday edition of Sports Talk. We'll be right back. And welcome back in. Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network. Great to have you with us here on this Monday. Isn't it great just to have a beautiful day, an absolutely beautiful day in South Carolina after a very tough weekend for really about half the state. Fortunately, where I live in Columbia, I came home. Of course, I was in Boston. I had to go to Atlanta for family business and came in late last night. Didn't get a chance to look around my property until today. And you know what? I hardly had a stick on the ground. I mean, if I had known there was a hurricane and a storm blowing through the state, I would never have known it in my little neck of the woods. So I feel very fortunate there. Little bumpy coming into Charlotte on Saturday, landed right around noontime, and we were catching just the outer band of the storm. And the pilot said, "Everybody back in your seats, put your seatbelts on." He told the crew to go ahead and sit down early.
Start praying.
No, he didn't get that far. He just said it's going to be a little bumpy going in.
Yeah. It was pretty loud in Northeast Columbia. You could hear that wind howling, and some trees came down in our neighborhood. We never lost power. I know some people that lost power.
Yeah.
I know there's still a lot of people without power, according to the governor earlier this afternoon, and hopefully those people are getting it back soon.
I was talking to my folks in the
hard.
PD, and they got nailed.
Yeah, Florence got hit harder than they thought.
Yeah, really hit hard.
That was, I think, surprising.
A friend of mine told me, my town, Latta, looked like Libya.
Well, one of the
trees
dams
were down, just all over the place.
Yeah, one of the dams broke in the state park, or a park down there. I don't remember which one, but the lake spilled out, flooding, and some of these rivers haven't crested yet, so we're not completely out of the woods. So listen to the law enforcement and the people out there that are giving you those messages, because we all want to stay safe.
All right, want to remind you that here on Sports Talk, we're brought to you by South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork, powered by soy. Will Muschamp coming up recruiting. It's a big night in recruiting. 7 o'clock, Devontae Shuler is going to announce, that's what he says, 7 o'clock. It could be give or take how many minutes, but South Carolina, Oklahoma State, and Ole Miss. Those were his 3 official visits, so I imagine it will be one of those. Southern Cal and Miami were also on his short list, but he didn't visit those 2 schools, and we'll see. Nobody has really put out any sort of an idea about where he's going, so we'll find out. The guard out of Oak Hill, native of Irmo. Then tonight at halftime of his football game, Justin Foster from Shelby, North Carolina, is going to announce Clemson, Tennessee, Georgia. The folks that cover Clemson recruiting are pretty convinced that he's going to Clemson. And, indications all point that way. Strong ties to Clemson, been there a lot. They've been recruited. They were the first to offer. So another good-looking player most likely to end up at Clemson. This is about Clemson and their performance on Friday night and where the Tigers are now with NC State coming to town. 6-0 once again, ranked number 3 this week in the AP. And now Florida State, the way they managed to beat Miami and pull that game out, that now returns as a real, worrisome stop on the tour for Clemson. But the Tigers are starting to shift into high gear. Deshaun Watson looked outstanding throwing the football. Wayne Gallman is now, hitting his stride. The offensive line is playing very well. The receivers are catching pretty much everything. The defense is every bit as good as last year, which last year was every bit as good as the year before. It doesn't matter who they lose and who they plug in. Those people, they step up and they play good ball, because Brent Venables is probably the best defensive coordinator in the country going right now. And Dabo Swinney is probably the best head coach in the country right now, next to Nick Saban.
I'm about to say, did Nick Saban retire?
Next to Nick Saban.
Urban Meyer's going to probably call on line 3.
I think Clemson will beat Ohio State if they play them in the postseason.
I'd take Dabo Swinney over Urban Meyer, the head coach, any day. The way he runs his program, the type of person he is. But
I mean, right now, if you look at the top 4 teams,
Urban Meyer does have an addy.
Clemson and Ohio State, they're going to play based on today's rankings. Now, the first playoff ranking will not come out till November 1st. That's a Tuesday, right? November 1st, Tuesday night. So that's when it really starts to matter. But between now and then, who does Clemson have? They have NC State at home.
We're going to crush them.
Should. Though NC State's defense has been pretty good. Now,
they're going to crush them.
They held Notre Dame to 3 points, and that was in a monsoon on Saturday. And the only touchdown was scored on a block punt. So, you know, how good is NC State? Clemson should crush them at Clemson. Then they get
point favorite.
Then they got a week off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then who they pick up? They
Florida
got
State.
Is it Florida State after that?
Week to get ready for Florida State.
Okay. And then the poll comes out the next week. So, you know, the Florida State game will be everything from that standpoint. And you know what? It's got to be – they can't lose that game because it's getting late. And you lose that game, it's hard to make up the time considering who they have left on their schedule. There's really not a quality opponent. Pittsburgh, the next to last weekend or towards the end, there's nobody else really left on that schedule that's going to give you that bounce. So they can't afford to lose to Florida State. The time is too short. So that'll be a pressure-packed game. I mean, Florida State's got nothing to lose. They're not going to be in the mix anyway with their 2 losses. Louisville, because they lost early to Clemson, they've got a chance to make up some ground. Now, playing Houston later on, Houston losing to Navy, will take some of the luster off that game. Of course, you had to read the crawl after Navy beat Houston, the crawl on ESPN, of course, reminding everybody who's a Gamecock fan that the last time Navy beat a top 10 team was 1984 when they beat South Carolina in November.
That's what Herman gets for flirting with the Gamecocks in that job. He got just enough of the chicken curse.
It wasn't flirtation, it was jilting.
Oh, it was.
That's what he got for jilting the Gamecocks at the end. All right, back to the phones we go, 800-956-7266. And it is Jerome. Oh, I didn't know it was him. See, I have to give him a special introduction. Our producers aren't aware of who Jerome is and what position he has on Sports Talk. He's like a fourth member of the crew. So we welcome in the de facto member of I forgot my lead in. We welcome in the de facto mayor of the city of Charleston, the bad boy by the bay, the ninja of the night, the pontiff of the port city, the queen of the cowboy crybabies, and the man who has been given a broom and told to sweep the water off the Ravenel Bridge this week so it can be passable for the residents. That's his job. It's Jerome. Not Jerome, but Jerome. Or is it not Jerome, but Jerome?
Is this geographically challenged Phil and West Coast Kevin? How are you?
Good. Did you survive the weather?
Yes, and my thoughts and prayers go out to everyone having to deal with, such a horrible event.
Agreed.
When you're up in Boston, did you ever see Michael Lupica? Because he's a big Boston College guy. Did you know that?
I didn't see him. Yeah, a lot of people. They had 44,000. They had pretty much a full house. I didn't see Mr. Lupica.
You ready for your spanking on Sunday? Or do you have your spanks on?
Is it time? Are y'all coming to? Are you going to play Dak? Is he coming to play against us?
Hey, West Coast
Dak
Kevin,
Prescott meet the NFL's best defense, the NFL's best run defense. Meet our blitz package in your face. This is not the SEC East you're facing, okay? It's the Green Bay Packers, baby.
He mostly played the SEC West.
I know, but I'm saying the East was weaker.
Generally
speaking.
I have a strategic question for West Coast Kevin.
Well, I want to go back to your opening comment about what did you say? Miss what?
What do you mean?
You said I was miss.
You were geographically challenged, Phil.
Yes, how's that?
You root for the Celtics, you root for the Yankees, and you root for the Packers.
And your point?
Geographically challenged, of course.
I like to spread the love around.
Actually, the lighter of Kornblut's challenges, but I digress.
Hurry up. What's your comment for K-Mac?
I just want to know, will the Packers be practicing their blocking techniques for Sunday?
We're very good blockers. Yes. By the way, Jerome, call me back later in the week and we'll make a little wager on the game. And, you can, once I win, you can take me out for another dinner that you have never taken me out for in Charleston. We'll be right back. Recruiting and more coming up. Our poll question on the website, sportstalksc.com. USC is 2-4 at the halfway point. How will the Gamecocks finish? And we give you the full run of options: 6-0, 5-1, 4-2, 3-3, 2-4, 1-5, 0-6. And so far, 55% of the responses are they will finish 2-4 down the stretch. Next highest figures 3-3. 3 people think they'll finish 6-0. And 8 think they'll finish 0-6. So very optimistic.
They're not going
that
to
trio.
finish 0-6.
Very, very optimistic.
They're not going to finish 6-0.
No,
they're going to.
They'll be somewhere in between
with 4 wins.
Oh, they'll get 5 wins.
You think they're going to beat Mizzou?
Yeah. They should. I don't see why they shouldn't beat Mizzou.
Kentucky.
Yeah, but that was on the road. This is home. Should beat Mizzou. They should get to 5 wins and then, cross their fingers and hope they can upset somebody.
Okay.
That's my
or
best
hope
case.
there's not enough 6-win teams to fill in the bowl slots, and you take a bowl game if you're 5-7. If you're South Carolina,
absolutely. The practice and sure you do. If you
go to a bowl game,
if you're in that opportunity, you take it and you make the best out of it. All right, 800-956-7266. Let me give you the recruiting update for tonight. First of all, we've got 2 commitments coming up here in a little bit. I'm not sure what time Justin Foster's will take place. It's going to be at halftime of his game in North Carolina, which I believe is kicking off at 7. So probably around 8 o'clock or so, maybe 7:45. And then a little bit after 7 o'clock, 6'3", Devontae Schuler of Irmo and Oak Hill Prep will announce his college choice: USC, Oklahoma State, and Ole Miss. He went to Ole Miss over the weekend. Southern Cal and Miami, 2 other programs he's been considering. Back to football, USC lost a commitment on Sunday when offensive lineman TJ Moore of Charlotte announced a decommitment. On Twitter, he said that while USC is still one of his top schools, he wants to take some other official visits and then make his decision. He committed to the Gamecocks on August 1st, and at the time he said, quote, "I think it's the place for me. I just feel like South Carolina is home to me." He picked USC at that time over Tennessee, plus Alabama, NC State, and North Carolina. His decommitment leaves the Gamecocks with 21 commitments in the class. Defensive end Aaron Sterling of Tucker, Georgia, was at USC yesterday. His first time seeing the Gamecocks play in person. He got a chance to see the game day atmosphere, watch the coaches work, and he said everything was good. The crowd was loud. He liked the atmosphere. Talking with the coaches, Muschamp and Robinson, they told him they want him, they need him. He said they've got a good plan for him. It left a good impression. He's also considering Georgia and NC State, and they will get officials along with USC. He's also been to NC State unofficially, and he's also considering Tennessee. No favorite at this point. There you go. Stay with us. We'll let you know as soon as we hear something on Schuler, monitoring that situation. And again, if something comes out of the Foster announcement before 8 o'clock, we'll have that for you. Otherwise, you can check it out on our website, sportstalksc.com. All right, back to the phones we go. And it's Dave in North Charleston. Okay, Dave, how are you? Hope you came through the storm okay.
We did. Got the power back on the first year and love it right now.
Good for you.
Yes, sir. We was 4 days. Our power went out Friday. We just got it back, and thank God. So that was great.
Yes, sir.
But Saturday wasn't too great.
You mean Sunday?
And Sunday, yes, sir. It got moved up, guys.
Yeah.
But we haven't had no power, so I ain't had no way of, keeping up with anything. But it's still, I found out today, I said, yuck. But it is what it is. But I'm hoping to be bowl eligible still this year.
Well, I think you have to have some goals. I think the coaching staff, starting with the head coach, he's got to give his players incentive and reason to continue to work and play hard. And that would be, the carrot would be getting bowl eligible. and they can be bowl eligible. I mean, that's the only goal they really have left. They're not going to win the division, so all they can focus on is getting that next win against Massachusetts in a couple of weeks. Now, look, I mean, Massachusetts is Massachusetts, but they have played some Division I FBS programs this year and have played them closely. I'm not saying this is an automatic win, but it should be a win for South Carolina. My goodness. They need to beat Massachusetts. This team, they're one of those teams that's kind of close enough where they just need that breakthrough, kind of get the confidence for both the players and the fans going again. And UMass won't necessarily be that, but if they can beat Missouri, no, not Missouri the week after. Who comes out? Oh, Tennessee. Tennessee comes the week after.
Yeah.
They need a win. They need that big kind of breakthrough win.
Tennessee, Florida, Clemson.
To make Muschamp's arrival noticed, so people notice Muschamp and what he's doing at South Carolina. He's done a lot of right things. He's done a lot of good things, but it's got to show up on the ledger, and it's not showing up on the ledger right now.
Well, I thought that they were probably a 4. I mean, most people thought making a bowl game would be an overachievement.
The head coach himself said, listen, he said,
wasn't smart.
Well, he said it.
Shouldn't have said
it.
That doesn't mean he should have.
Paraphrasing here, he said, we can win the East. The East is not all that. We got enough to compete in the East.
Yeah, I don't think he should have said that, because that was not true.
Yeah.
And I don't think that he probably believed it when he said it. It's one of those deals where we try to win every game, and I get that, but you under promise and over deliver, and he needs to start selling his program more. I think he needs to. This is a bye week. It'd be a great time to let Kurt Roper go out there and kind of update the offense, the guy that's actually calling the plays, let everybody know where his mind is, because people have questions. They're going to get antsy. I don't think it's bad coaching right now. In fact, I'll say this about South Carolina. They're playing hard. Those guys aren't quitting. They aren't getting demoralized when they could be getting demoralized out on the field. And like I said earlier, going into the fourth quarter, it's a 7-point ball game. They are a play or two away from making that a ball game. The week earlier against Texas A&M, now a team ranked 6th in the country, play or two away from having a chance to win or at least tie that ball game. So they're hanging around. They're playing hard. They haven't had one of those 50-0 deals. So it's not like they're that far off. It's a fine line.
Their line of scrimmage on both sides tends to get overwhelmed against good teams.
Yes.
I mean, they just tend to get, you look at the offensive line and they have a difficult time consistently blocking well enough to get a steady running game going. Then you look on the defensive side, and while the defense, as we have pointed out, has hung in there, they got gashed for over 300 rushing yards. You go back and look at this year, you saw a quarterback at Mississippi State, who I don't think's done anything since they played the Gamecocks, go up and down the field against him like he was Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, that was a bad game that was their worst game for them. I'll say this: they're among the leaders in the SEC in tackles for a loss. On that defense, they're ranked in the top 70. I think they're 60-something. They've made strides on defense. They're still limited.
I think they're better on defense. I don't think there's any question.
It's not even a little bit. They're a lot better.
Still, they do tend to get knocked around up front.
They have personnel issues.
Yeah.
They have things that are only going to be fixed by bringing in more players.
Which is pretty amazing that a team just a couple of years removed from being a top 10 program, rock solid.
That's what happens when you
top
stop
10
recruiting.
Program. Gosh, it got away in a hurry.
Doesn't take long.
It just got away from them. Well, of course, they did not have, they had a good defense the year Dylan Thompson was the quarterback. If that defense had been this defense, they would have won a bunch more games because, they passed for 3,500 yards. Thompson had a great year. They had an offense that averaged over 30 points per game. They just couldn't stop anybody. But then they were ill-prepared at quarterback. I mean, it was a vacuum, and they're paying the price for it now. Top of the hour.
Gear up for Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. It's your final word on sports all across the state. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now here are your hosts, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Okay, we're back, and the news for USC basketball is not good, as Devontae Shuler just has announced on Twitter a commitment to Ole Miss. So, instead of playing for the Gamecocks, he will play against them. Murphy Holloway, who is also from the Irmo area, of course, went to Ole Miss, came to South Carolina for a year, never played.
Then went back to Ole Miss.
Yeah. Saw a picture with the two of them recently with his arm, with Murphy's big arm around Shuler's smaller shoulders. It's hard to say. Shuler's smaller shoulders. Mm-hmm. Should have known then. But anyway, he has now committed to Ole Miss. So there you go. Devontae Shuler headed to Ole Miss to play for the Rebels. Andy Kennedy gets a very, very good guard from South Carolina and from Oak Hill Prep in Virginia. That's the first of the major news. And now Justin Foster, turn our attention to him. The linebacker out of Shelby, North Carolina, is playing a game tonight. And at halftime, he plans his college choice, Clemson, Tennessee, or Georgia. David Hood of TigerNet, who, of course, works with us here on Sports Talk, will be there. So I suggest you follow David on his website, TigerNet. He'll have complete coverage, post-game, post-commitment interviews, and all of that he will share with us as well. In fact, we're going to ring him up, I think a little bit later on, time permitting. We'll ring him up to kind of get a feel for what's going on. Speaking of ringing up, we had some folks ring up the What the phone line here on Sports Talk. Let me give you that number in case you don't have it in your phone. You don't have it on speed dial. You should, right next to the wife, the kids. 911, put in 803-509-2705. 803-509-2705. Okay, that's the number to the Sports Talk What the phone line. That's WTF. Okay, we took WTF and turned it into What the phone line. So let's go and listen. I think most people here are talking about South Carolina and Georgia.
Yes, I think a lot of people Sunday were reacting to the game.
Mm-hmm. All right, so here we go. Carson Over, if you would, please.
Brother, after each Carolina ball game, I find myself disliking Steve Spurrier more and more. At this rate, by the end of the year, I'm going to think less of him than I do Brad Scott. Yeah. And, brother, that's a lot of damn dislike.
I think his phone ran out of battery.
Is that it? That it on him?
Calling.
Okay, let's continue with the next on What the phone line.
Spurrier left us, and you can't make chicken salad out of chicken.
Poor Spurrier. I mean, he's not even in the state anymore, and he's getting the grief. All right, let's go. Next one.
South Carolina, Georgia punched us in the mouth. The dang coach, like he done got punched in the dang mouth. That's what you get, I guess, when you hire the 6th round pick as a coach. Jesus.
6th round pick.
Is that what he was? The 6th round pick?
I don't know. All right, let's continue.
In my 73 years of watching college football, I've seen a lot of teams, and some teams they can win with class, and some teams they just show their ass. Thursday night, Clemson showed they belong with the latter group. First of all, Ben Boulware is a cheap shot taking third-class punk. Second, Dabo is just classless, pure classless. Going for an onside kick leading 35-3 against a much inferior team with Bush lead. I'm glad it backfired on him and it led to a BC touchdown. Like I say, after 73 years, I can honestly say Clemson's one of the most shameless, sorriest, classless teams I have ever seen.
Well,
ever.
yeah, he was asked about
74
that
years.
after the game, and he said he made no apologies. He said, look, we're working on things. That was a game situation. We wanted to see how it would work because, he's thinking big picture. Down the road, they may need an onside kick attempt against somebody.
But do you want to show it on film? Then other people are
Well,
ready
I think it was more about them than it is what anybody might have seen. He wanted to see how they executed.
It is a rough look when you do that up 35-3.
All right, let's go. Next one.
Let's just say I'm a damn Georgia fan. Well, our dang quarterback couldn't hit a freaking side of a barn. But one thing I just want to know. Who let your dog down? Who let your dog down? Who let your dog down? Who let your dog down?
That song's still around, huh? I didn't realize that song was still available for download. There was no UGA, right? No UGA on location yesterday. Didn't bring UGA.
Didn't see UGA.
These are things you learn when you watch a game on television. Is that it? Have we cleared the line? Okay. Once again, 803-509-2705 whenever you can't reach us directly. I know some of you are, for whatever reason, you might be a little bit shy. You might feel intimidated by calling in live and facing a response, and you just want to call in and not be bothered. Just leave your comments that way. Feel free to do so. 803-509-2705 is the number. We have a lot of comments on Twitter as well that I want to get to related to a whole variety of sports subjects here. This is from Kay Bennett talking about South Carolina. I think he's a Clemson fan. He has a Clemson helmet by his name. So this is directed to Gamecocks. You guys have the pieces to be a top 75 offense. McElwain, Turner, Edwards, Samuel,
75.
Hurst, veteran O-line. John writes about South Carolina and the offense, 110th nationally last year, i.e. Orth, or true freshman, i.e. BM, Edwards, etc. Going to take time.
Yeah. Well, that because there's some people on there saying, oh, why are you surprised? Will Muschamp is terrible with offenses. And the response to that is, well, they were 110th last year. Is that Will Muschamp's fault? And last year they had Pharaoh Cooper. And last year they had Jarrell Adams.
Mm-hmm.
And
who, by the way, called a pass against the Packers
and
last
Cooper
time.
made his debut yesterday.
Like
they also had Brandon Wilds last year. So they were better offensively last year in terms of their weapons and still struggled. It's
all because of quarterback. It's all because, I mean,
most important position on the field.
Yeah, they don't have great quarterback play. I mean, they just don't have it. Look at I'm not going to say every, but you look at the majority of the struggling teams around the country. I mean, they usually have more than one deficiency, but I guarantee you one is a quarterback. Great quarterback play can overcome a lot of deficiencies in other areas. John, again, think he does, talking about Muschamp, think he does have a plan, but the plan in its current form consists of players who were on offense. Oh, I got you. That was 110th nationally last year. Okay, that's the first part of his comment there. Steve, 80% of the team redshirt or true freshman. Okay. Michael, responding to the tweet about how many points the Gamecocks had scored so far this year compared to this same time last year, asks how many points scored against them versus this time last year. Probably a bunch more than they've allowed. They're improved on defense. There's no question about that. What else? Looking here. Anything else here? Really good. A lot of retweets. Greg writes, Muschamp had the Joes at Florida and still couldn't win consistently. Didn't have the Jimmies and the Joes at quarterback after some injuries.
Right. And he made mistakes at Florida. I think he's acknowledged those mistakes. He didn't leave Florida in shambles, as we can see. Florida's a pretty darn good football team now. It did not take them long. They already had the defensive players. They had some athletes there on offense. They're going to be okay. It's going to take time, folks.
Okay, we'll come back and take more of your phone calls here on Sports Talk. Also, Will Muschamp coming up. Ben Boulware coming up. Little Deshaun Watson, too. We'll be right back. Back we are, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. The high school team being honored tonight over in Charlotte prior to the Panthers game, of course, would be Mallard Creek High School. The team for which the player that just decommitted from USC, TJ Moore, plays for. Of course, they do have Eric Douglas still committed off of that team, and he appears to be solid. That's another thing that Muschamp and the staff there at South Carolina have to be careful about. You've got a good class put together. The losses only lead to, well, I mean, this will sound simple. One of two things. It's going to make those commitments feel like, gee, they really need me and I can go in there and play right away. Or, they're going down. I don't want to go down with them. I want to go someplace where I can win. It's going to make it, every loss makes it all the more difficult to hold a good recruiting class together. That
2014 exodus of commitments that South Carolina had still brings back nightmares for a lot of Gamecock fans. I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, just think about this. Mark Fields had a pick 6 for Clemson.
Arden Key's been making all sorts of plays.
Alexander is a terrific corner at Louisville. I mean, these are all Gamecock commitments that went elsewhere when the infamous words were uttered.
And you think about that. If those guys hold steady and come to South Carolina, Steve Spurrier might have been doing the post game on Sunday.
Think he'd still be coaching?
If they were winning, Steve Spurrier would still be coaching. Yeah. He got out when they stopped winning and didn't want to.
Well, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? I mean, did they start losing because of him, or did they start losing because of something else that led to him?
Well, the guys that we just mentioned playing at other schools, that's how you win games with guys like that.
But they started losing. Those guys wouldn't have been at South Carolina. I mean, they started losing in 20. When did he make the comment? He made the comment.
Yeah, Arden Key. He made the comment in 2014.
2014. Yeah, 2014. Yeah, yeah, that's right.
That's when they had a top 5 class at one point that year, and they ended up.
Yeah, he made the comment right after the Clemson game to Joe Person, right? When he said, "I'm just going to go a couple more 3 years, maybe."
Joe Person was long gone.
Not Josh Joe Person. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the Panthers game. Yeah, Josh Kendall. He told that to Josh. All right, 800-956-7266. Let's go back to the phones. And it's Wes in Florence, or is it just West Florence? It's Wes in Florence. See, there is a West Florence. Carson,
yes, there is a West Florence, South Florence, and Wilson.
And a West in Florence. How's everything in Florence?
Well, it's trees everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just nice to talk to the third most famous person from Atlanta behind Raymond Felton and Conan Gasquet from News 13.
Yes.
Conan has passed Kornblut.
He is a
popularity.
He's a Sports Talk intern Hall of Famer, and I will gladly accept my position in that ranking.
I work station down here, and he did an awesome job covering the fire in North Myrtle Beach. He went from sports reporter to live reporter, and went on for like 3 hours to cover the fire. So he did a really good job.
Terrific.
Question: I'm a Cowboy fan, and I know you're not.
Yeah.
Who do you think should start? I'm hearing it everywhere. When Romo comes back, should it be Romo or should it be Prescott?
As a Packer fan, is he ready to come back, Romo?
It's close.
I'm praying for Romo. I mean, if he's ready to go, stick him in against the Packers so we can break him in half. I'll be more than happy to deliver him back to the hospital.
That's hard.
I'm waiting for Jerome to call in to answer that question for all of us.
All right. Well, he's already had his call of the week. Maybe he'll respond later in the week and tell us his thoughts on that. Look, if I'm the cow, I understand you don't lose your job because of an injury most times, but how can you replace a quarterback as hot as Prescott is right now? How can you?
It's hard. What about that adage, though? You can't lose your job to injury. Romo's the promo. Exactly.
Yeah, but you think about the team and who's winning right now. It's all about who is winning for you today. And listen, if Prescott were struggling and not getting it done, no brainer. You put Romo back in as soon as he's ready. But he's winning and he's playing at a very high level, and the guys around him are responding. You want to mess with that formula? And the Patriots, of course, their backup quarterback was injured too, and they were down to like their 4th quarterback. It wouldn't have made any difference. Brady was going to come back and start, but Romo's no Brady. All right, let's not confuse ourselves.
Well, I mean, and the Patriots could have gotten Prescott before they got the other guy they have now that's not very good. So that would have been an interesting question there, because I think they took their quarterback before Prescott was picked. And last question, I'll hang up off the air. Is it really that big of a deal that Dabo goes for an onside kick during the third quarter of that game when he's just like working on things. I mean, they had the game won. I mean, is he going to try it when they're up by 7 points against Louisville? Probably not. So, I mean, you have to work on stuff during live, besides practice. You have to see what the opponent's going to do. I mean, I don't really see a problem with it, but that's just me. I'm a Clemson fan. So,
yeah, if you were down 35-3 to Carolina, Will Muschamp did an onside kick against you, I have a feeling you would say, I have no problem with that. You would remember that. And it's the other team's job to stop you. Coaches can do whatever they want, but that sort of thing is frowned upon in a lot of circles. I'm not one of those people that frowns upon it. If that's what you want to do, if you're on the other sideline, it probably wouldn't be real fun, but there's a way you stop things like that. It
doesn't look good. Like
don't
you said,
let them
off the
score
air,
and they can't kick it off.
It's not a good look.
No.
It's not a good look. It's like, all right, you're up, 55 to 10 here. You score, and you want to see how your 2-point conversion play works, and you run that. And, in your mind, you might be thinking, I just want to see how this looks under game conditions. But to the rest of the world, it doesn't look good. Right. But it was not. I don't know. He's getting outside of maybe Gamecock fans. I haven't heard.
There hasn't been
nobody at Boston College went crazy over.
No, they
the
don't
coach
care.
Didn't go crazy.
And I've seen coaches when you put in the backups late in a game and you say, "Hey, I've got my third string quarterback in, but I'm not going to tell him he can't pass the ball. He needs to run the offense, but we do have our backups in." But an onside kick, I mean, it just that's gutsy.
Back to the phones we go. Thank you for your call. Let's head to Danny and Aiken. Hello, Danny. Welcome in to Sports Talk tonight. How are you?
Doing fine. How are you guys?
Man, we're great. Good to have you with us.
Just wanted to make a couple of comments. I guess I'll start it off saying that I am a Clemson supporter, booster for quite a few years. And my first thoughts on the onside kick was, why did he do that? Then a few seconds later, I realized that the same thing that he said, that you have to work on things in front of 75, 80,000 people, or I guess 40,000. But until you work on it live, watch the film, you can't coach. You just have to do that. What people are doing with our special teams the last 2 or 3 years, I think, help, and they have drastically improved. My main comment was, even though I'm a Clemson fan, I do follow South Carolina very closely because I have friends that have played there. And I really think that the program right now is kind of down. Nothing to do with the coaching staff that's there, because I think Coach Muschamp is a very, very good coach, and I think he's even a better recruiter. But I think Coach Spurrier dropped the ball the last 2 years on recruiting his whole staff. And it's like most of your top schools will tell you, it's like Coach Sweeney, if you don't have the talent, you don't have a whole lot to coach. So competing in the SEC against the guys they go against week after week, you've got to have the advanced 3 stars and the very good 4 and 5 stars, and that's something South Carolina does not have a lot of, and I blame that totally on the coaching staff that was there before. So that's all I had to say. I just wanted to make my 2 cents. Thank you a lot. I appreciate it. I enjoy your show.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate your phone call. There's no question that South Carolina's deficient in a number of areas in terms of overall personnel. They have some good players. There's no question about it. They have some good players. Finding that confidence, especially on offense. Offense is such a finicky thing in offense. Once you get it going and you start feeling good about yourself and everybody's together, game in and game out, and healthy and doing things, it's amazing how it will come together and click. Defense is basically, putting 11 guys out there and going to the ball and finding the ball and getting after them. I mean, that's in simplistic terms. Defense is a lot more finesse and really a lot of confidence. And they just don't have confidence right now on the offensive side because good things aren't happening for them. They have to make good things happen for them, but they also get some bad breaks along the ways, drops at a bad time, penalties at a bad time, things of that nature. That's what happens to poor football teams. Thanks for your call. Back in a moment. All right, coming up, Will Muschamp, David Shelton here on Sports Talk. Hey, score a touchdown with Founders Federal Credit Union. They're now open in Clemson. Founders Clemson location located on Highway 93. It's next to Walmart's Neighborhood Market. They also have 4 on-campus ATMs, 3 of which accept cash and check deposits. Visit RelaxJoinFounders.com to see if you qualify for membership. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA. Time to update some high school football from over the weekend, spread out, really interrupted by the storm with games on Thursday and games and some games on Friday. And then, of course, they've added a week to the season and kind of prolonged things, much like we had last year because of the flooding. Let's get the take of David Shelton on the games from over the weekend, brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. With new auto insurance rates from Farm Bureau Insurance, you could be saving a whole lot of money. Even if you've received a quote before, rates are now more competitive than ever. Get a free quote today from your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. David Shelton, we welcome him to Sports Talk. How's everything in your neck of the woods?
Well, there's a lot less woods, I can tell you that.
Have you got power?
I have power, and my neighborhood has power. There are a lot of trees fell. A lot. I made a little trip out today, and a lot more than I realized, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I live in a very wooded area. Of course, everywhere down here is, oak trees and pine trees, and a lot more trees down than I thought. A lot of water. But honestly, from some of the pictures and some of the people I've talked to up in the Myrtle Beach area, Georgetown, up that way, we got the better end of this deal, to be honest with you, because it is a total mess all along the coast, and it's unfortunate that it's going to affect Friday nights for at least a couple of weeks.
Yeah, let me ask you about that. Down your way, what's the future, the immediate future for getting games in?
Well, I think here in Charleston, they'll play Friday night. Schools are going back in tomorrow, and the big concern is the lack of practice time. Most of these schools have not practiced since Tuesday afternoon, so you're looking Wednesday, Thursday, no game Friday, nothing Saturday, nothing Sunday, nothing today. So most of them are going to get on the field to practice tomorrow, and they're going to play Friday night. I don't think Hilton Head, Colleton County, that's one game I don't think will get played, because I know Hilton Head's not going to school through Wednesday, so they're still out for a couple of days. So there'll be some games in this area put back, or maybe to play Saturday. But I think we'll get a pretty good schedule Friday night. Now up above us or up north of us, in terms of Georgetown, Florence, Horry County, I don't think there'll be a whole lot of games played up that way Friday night.
I saw the high school league is going to have an executive committee meeting Wednesday to discuss maybe further altering the schedule. What are you hearing about that?
Yeah, that's something that's going to be discussed because of those schools I just mentioned up in that area. It's a hard call. It really is, and I'm as critical as that. But I'm also, I kind of try to be fair and try to think things through. It's a hard call because you have a smaller number of schools that are affected, as opposed to of the 225 that play football. You're talking about 30. So if you push the season back 2 weeks, you're going to run into the North-South issue again, but you're also going to run into the Shrine Bowl issue. But that, to me, doesn't matter. Those All-Star games that's what they are. You have to give these other schools a fair and equitable shake in all this. To me, I would think the high school league, as opposed to running it 2 weeks longer, I think you just cut a week out. I think you just say, listen, last Friday night doesn't matter. You're not playing it. Don't worry about it. Make up this one coming up this Friday night in that extended week. And you're going to have some that have played less games, but so be it. Figure it out. I mean, we're talking about high school. We're not talking about curing cancer. So figure out the playoff spots from that. It's not going to be fair for everybody, but as I tweeted out today, and somebody told me I was crazy, but I lean in favor of the ones who are affected, not the ones who are not. If you're in the upstate and you get to play all your games, good for you. Take a week off, take 2 weeks off, whatever it takes. But you got to be fair to these schools down here, because this is bad stuff. These rivers are going to crest again, and it's going to flood. I saw a picture of C.E. Murray's school, half its roof's off. So I mean, you can play football, but you got to be able to go to school.
Yeah, yeah, that should be the priority.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, and I don't like to get in. I'm not going to argue with people about it. I have my opinions. I don't think the high school league, just from past, I don't know that they'll push it back 2 weeks, but there definitely going to be some changes. And if they do, they do. You know, you play the games and you figure it all out as you go. And as much as I love high school football, it is what it is, you know.
Yeah. New Year's Day high school football coming to South Carolina.
All right, real quick.
I'm all for it, whatever.
Two big games that were played. Get your thoughts on Dorman beating Gaffney, way that game finished up, and also the Greenwood and Malden game.
Yeah, you know, Greenwood was playing without their quarterback, and I had a feeling this could make this game a little closer. I've seen Greenwood, and I knew their defense was good, and Malden's got a pretty good offense. So it kind of played out the way I thought. It wouldn't have shocked me if Malden won that game with Greenwood not playing with their quarterback. But that's a good win for Greenwood, because they've got a showdown coming up here not too long in the distant future with Westside, and that's a really good conference. But you know, the Dorman Gaffney game, I obviously I didn't see it in person, but I was following it on Twitter, and about every 35 seconds somebody scored. It was like crazy. And it looked like Gaffney scored late to win it, and then Dorman gets a big play on the kickoff, or the play right after the kickoff. I can't remember. But they got it down there really quick, and they scored. And I think there was like almost 1,200 yards of offense. And as I told Kevin the other night on the scoreboard show, that Gaffney has almost 700 yards and loses. That is just that's a gut punch. I mean, when you roll up numbers like that and you don't win the game, that's not a good feeling.
No doubt. Okay, David, thank you, my friend. Good talking to you. Glad everything is okay with you and your family, and we will talk to you Friday night.
Okay, man. Take care.
Thank you. All right, David Shelton with us here on Sports Talk. Before we go any further, some comments from Will Muschamp following the Gamecocks' loss to Georgia yesterday, and you can tell in his voice disappointment, frustration with the way that game played out. Let's listen to some of what he had to say.
You know, offensively, field position, 3 turnovers, 3rd down. We got to get back in the open week and just find out some things that we can, improve on. All positions are open. Evaluations of those positions, we got to be more efficient. Defensively, you got to play block and you got to tackle. You can stunt and do as much as you stuff, which we did today. But eventually you got to defeat a block, you got to get off a block, and you got to tackle a guy, which has been an issue here for a long time. So that's something we're dealing with, and we're trying as best we can to work through. But it's very, very frustrating to not be able to know something's coming and you're having a hard time stopping it. So it's very frustrating. So we got the open week. It's come for a good time. Our players will be off tomorrow. We'll work as a staff to improve our team. And we got 6 games to go, and we're looking forward to those 6 games and continuing to improve our program.
Will, how did you think Perry played, and was it ever a consideration to maybe try some things out with Brandon?
Well, we were not running the ball very well. And, I think at the end of the day, between Rico and AJ, we had about 63 yards rushing. There was nothing in the run game. Just felt like we needed to throw the football, which I thought we were effective at times. But, we got the ball moving, and you have a turnover. I mean, we just can't get out of our own way at times, and it's very frustrating. But could continue to go back at it and evaluate what we need to do to improve.
All right, just a few comments from Will Muschamp. Anything else from his comments that really stand out to you?
No, that was a majority of them there. Just frustrated. He's frustrated. Perry Orth said they don't really have answers right now. He said he thinks they're going to get it together. He just doesn't know when.
Well, you know what? Season's not over. You got to look at what's ahead of you and what you can accomplish if you're South Carolina. You cannot give up yet on the hope of getting to 6-6 and qualifying for a bowl game. That's why you got to keep your optimism up. Back in a moment. Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Back to your phone calls in just a couple of moments. Today at Clemson, several players met with the media to talk about Boston College and things in that game, but also look ahead to NC State. Tigers are, 17-point favorites against NC State. I think they opened up at 17-point favorite. Ben Boulware has been the subject of a lot of national criticism about his play in that, they caught him trying to strangle the Louisville quarterback. And then he had that hard hit on the Boston College quarterback the other night. That was not, eventually it was ruled not a foul of any nature. So today up at Clemson, he was asked about, developing this bad boy, nasty player reputation on the field.
I think people don't realize that I play linebacker in college football at the highest level. They try to make the game so soft, and that's just not how I'm brought up. Like, I don't play the game that way. I never have, and I never will. If I have to bench press a guy off me to get him down, or shove him, or tackle a guy by his head, like in Louisville, or by his neck or whatever, to get him down, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try to get the guy down by any means necessary. I think if people think that it's cheap or I'm a dirty player because of it, then that is what it is. If you watch my 2,000 snaps that I've played in my career, you're not going to find 3 dirty plays out of 2,000 snaps. So people are saying that I'm like the most hated college football player and I'm dirty. If you don't look at that play, which I wasn't choking him, I was just trying to get him down. You can't find 2 or 3 dirty snaps in my entire career. So people just saying that are just kind of jumping to conclusions. But I'm an aggressive player. I'm an intense player, and I'm going to do anything to get the opposing player down. So I mean, I was about to get juked out, and I was kind of off balance, so I kind of threw a shove at him, not expecting him to go down like he did, but I don't think he expected me to hit him or clip him like I did. People just kind of jumped to conclusions, like they were saying that was a dirty play. I'm just like, how? Like, how it now? I'm literally just shoving a guy to get him down. Like, how does that make me a dirty player? Like, me trying to tackle Lamar Jackson, like, I tackle him by his neck. Like, I'm not going to, oh, God, I'm having him by his neck. Let me let go and let him go real quick. Like, so, because I have him by his neck, he might hurt him a little bit. We play football. Like, it's not like I'm not playing golf, like, or tennis. Like, this is an aggressive sport. And you can see that I'm kind of, like, annoyed by it because it's kind of been blowing up the past 2 weeks, and I'm like a dirty player. Like, and if you watch every single snap that I ever played, like, you're not finding one dirty play. They don't show the snaps where I'm helping quarterbacks up, or when I was like patting the quarterback on the head the first play of the third quarter, or I'm talking to the tight ends, like having a good time. They only want to replay when I shoved them and want to replay the Lamar play 400 times, but they don't show the other snaps. So I don't really know if I answered your question. I don't know what you asked, honestly. I've been kind of wanting to talk about it just because people wanted to label me as a dirty player when they can't find any snaps in my 2,000 snaps in my life that I've been dirty. So it's kind of been annoying. But I play the game in an intense way. It's a tense game. I think I play the game how it's supposed to be played. I think people are trying to make the game soft and something that's not, and I'm not going to do that. I'm going to play it how I've grown up playing it. I'm not changing for anybody.
Love it. You got to love Ben Boulware. I mean, you do. He's that guy. You either love him or you hate him if he's on your team, or if he's not, you know how it goes. But he does. He talks the talk and he walks the walk. He plays hard. He's an emotional guy. He plays with passion, probably helps him overcome maybe some deficiencies in some areas. But I tell you what, he gets the job done. I would never have expected he would have gone to Clemson coming out of high school and had the kind of impact and developed the kind of persona and aura around him that he has developed over the past 3 years. He's become really the heart and soul and the leader of that defense. Clemson's defense, they got a lot of great players. But to me, the heartbeat of that defense has been Boulware because he's right in the middle of everything.
You got to have guys like that too.
Mm-hmm.
Great defenses have those guys that play on the edge, and Boulware's one of those guys that plays on the edge. And to other teams, They can't stand it to other fan bases, but when he's on your side, you love it.
Let's head up to Charlotte to Bank of America Stadium. Our former producer, of course, he's been replaced now by Carson Nova. So we wish him well in his future endeavors, covering the Panthers for whoever. Jarmart.
Hey, Carn.
How are you?
Oh, man, I'm really enjoying this Monday Night Football action going on in Charlotte. It is pretty electrifying up here. Fans have been out here for a while, and you can tell that there's just a different energy than there normally is on Sunday, and I'm feeding on it.
Yeah, I can tell. I can hear in your voice the excitement just blowing through the phone.
I can feel them.
Yeah. What is causing the excitement? The Derek Anderson taking over at quarterback, Jameis Winston being in town. I mean, what's got them pumped up?
Well, I think with this one is there's just a lot of what we don't know going on. Monday Night Football is always fun. It's a little bit different. People coming out to work, but there's a lot of question marks on the field because of injuries, and that's on both teams tonight. We've got Mike Remmers not going to play this game, or Michael Orr is not playing this game, so Michael Remmers will be shifting over to the left side for tackle, and Darrell Williams, he's also going to be getting some more snaps for that. And Derek Anderson, we'll see how they attack this good Tampa defense, trying to maybe get some quick passers. That's something that Derek Anderson does a little bit more than Cam Newton is. He just picks a direction and goes with it. Cam Newton will hold on to the ball to maybe try to get that deep strike, but Derek Anderson will zip it very quickly. So look for fast snaps, and maybe that'll get the fast snaps getting to the quick, exciting offense going for the Carolina Panthers as they look to rebound from Atlanta last week.
Well, we all know that teams that are 1-3 and then go 1-4, they don't make the playoffs very often, if at all. Both of these teams are 1-3.
Yeah, but you can't count the Panthers out just quite yet. I mean, there were some moments against the Vikings game that that there was a good team on the field for that. And then you look at the San Francisco 49ers and the offense that was put out for that game, and that was 46 points scored. So it's, you can't write this Panthers team off yet. And I think that's something that you're going to see on this Buccaneers against the Buccaneers today is just a resurgence from these people. They're pissed off. They're ready to get back on the field and get the win in front of this Monday Night Football crowd.
Well, they don't have Cam Newton tonight. I don't really worry about the offense, that defense, the secondary in particular. Who's going to play defensive back tonight, Jared? You?
Well, they were doing a the 50-50 raffle earlier, and I think they were also giving out tickets to play cornerback for that as well. I mean, they cut Bené Benwickery on a couple of days ago after that 300-yard performance he gave up to Julio Jones. James Bradbury, he's still injured from that Falcons game, so he's not going to get the start. You're looking at a secondary that's pretty depleted, but we're going to see a lot of Michael Griffin and the new safety that they acquired. So, maybe he'll do that secondary some good in one of these games here.
Okay, Jarmart, enjoy the game. We'll tell everybody to look for your post-game coverage or in-game coverage on our website, sportstalksc.com, and on Twitter at sportstalksc. And we'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Take care, guys.
Thank you. Jared Rogers-Martin covering the Panthers for us tonight against Tampa. A couple of quick notes. The USC-UMass game will kick off at noon. Of course, in the AP ranking, Clemson is number 3 behind Alabama and Ohio State, ahead of Michigan and Washington. The FCS coaches poll, Charleston Southern is 8. The Citadel is 9. North Dakota State remains number 1. And Sam Bruce, who was heavily recruited by USC but signed with Miami, dismissed from the team today, multiple violations of team rules. Of course, he was a freshman receiver, very highly recruited. Now he is looking for a home. That'll do it. Have a great night. Thank you, K-Mac. Thank you, Carson Nova. We'll see you tomorrow night.